Okay, sorry everyone. I was telling you about marked bodies, and I spoke about Frida Kahlo for a moment, and my other story was simply that I had a really good friend when I was in England. I did my PhD in England, so we knew each other in London. We were there for 4 years, and she confided in me that back in Korea, she was powerful, she was confident, she was a well known creative visual artist. Um, but then she said coming to England and doing the PhD um, made her feel like almost like she couldn't be who she was. She had difficulty with English, so she could communicate perfectly well, but she would say things like she didn't feel like herself. And I have heard that, and I think it can be true. You can communicate in another language, but you may not really have a personality in that language. I think she felt like that. I think she felt quite stunted, and I think she felt. She told me that she felt racialized, right? For everyone in England, or most people that she would meet, the first thing they would see was that she was an Asian woman. So she felt like that kind of preceded her. People's, whatever it was they thought an Asian woman was or was about, that would get there before her, in a sense. But then, even when she was able to interact, she felt kind of hampered by the language. So a couple of reasons. So she was marked, right, as an Asian woman, in a way that she didn't want to be marked, and she didn't find very acceptable, right? But it was only once she entered England that that happened. When she was back home in Korea, that didn't happen, right? And when she was in Korea, again, she felt very effective as a person, very much a part of the arts community there. Whereas when she came to England, not only was her body marked by racial characteristics, but she felt much less powerful and much less confident. So, and it was a little heartbreaking for her. But my point is that sometimes, like with Frida, the marking of the body is very deliberate and very proud. Sometimes the marking on the body is not deliberate; it's just how it is. And though it can change from one context to another, it's always got these markings, right? The markings will mean something different in a different time, in a different place, in a different country, with different cultural expectations. But but you can see how her body, the meaning of her body, is different in different places. So that's all I wanted to remark upon there. So what I'll do is I will open up the cafe and I will ask you to think of some way, and it doesn't have to be terribly personal or profound. You can, if you have a tattoo, tell us why you have this tattoo. Why did you decide to put ink under your skin to mark yourself? Is there a story behind the image? Or it can be, you always wear a certain piece of jewelry because your grandmother gave it to you, and that's like carrying her around. That kind of thing. It can be anything really. So I'll ask you to introduce yourself and tell us how your body is marked, and I will give you an example. I'll do me, and as an example of what kinds of things you could say. And that way we can kind of get to know each other a little bit. A couple of you asked earlier today if there was going to be some way or somewhere that you could get together virtually. And of course you have the Webex, but I'm also going to open this cafe space where you can talk to each other. And finally, why is seminar different from other classes? K through 12 education in Texas is pretty uneven, right? Depending on where you come from, you may have been very well prepared for college. You may have done research, you may have used databases, you may have become really an expert in citation styles. You may know how to think critically and write really probing analytical essays. You may know how to communicate with your professors and keep on top of things beautifully. And if that is the case, I am so happy. I'm very happy for you. But unfortunately, many of us did not have amazing K through 12. So what happens if you don't have amazing K through 12? Why and why is that? It's not the teachers, right? It's not the students. What happens in Texas is that funding for public school comes through property tax, right? It comes through property taxes. So if you are in a neighborhood with big, beautiful houses, then you will have, because of property tax, you will have lots of funding in your school, lots of computers, and everyone has an iPad, and all kinds of guest speakers and extracurricular activities, and piano and acting, and all kinds of amazing things all the time. But if you, as I when I was young, if you come from a place where there are no big, beautiful houses, then your school is going to be grossly underfunded, right? So you will have kind of textbooks that are hand-me-downs for years. You will not be able to attract the best and brightest teachers because you cannot pay them, you cannot support them. So my point is that, right? My point is that many of us get to college and we enter into a set of customs and just norms that no one really prepared us for, right? No one really could get us ready for. For some of us, that is not true, and that's a blessing, right? That's a great thing. But for lots of us, we simply are not comfortable. We don't know. We don't know what it means when a professor says, go to the library, go to the database, find peer-reviewed articles. You need this many, and put it in APA, right? We might have some sense of what the words mean, but the idea of trying to go through that on our own is very overwhelming. Very overwhelming, to the point where you have all of that. You have it for many classes. Your professor says you have to read 50 pages, but you don't. Of course, you know how to read, or you couldn't be here, but you don't know how to manage that kind of reading, and so on and so forth. So what can happen is the exact opposite of what we want to happen, which is you might get overwhelmed, confused, and kind of paralyzed, and think to yourself, this is maybe everyone else seems to know what's going on, and I don't really know what's going on, or everyone else seems smarter than me, or better than me, or like they know and I don't know, and maybe I just don't fit in. Maybe I just don't belong here. Okay, that is totally normal. That is totally normal, but it's not right. There is no better place for you than at university. You don't want to try to go and get a job right now because there aren't any. You want to be here being educated. So if you get overwhelmed, if you get confused, if no one explains to you how to do things, then this is part of what seminar is, right? I will tell you how to do those things. So I will not just assume that you already know what I mean. I'm very conscious of explaining what I mean and walking you through it so that you don't ever reach that point where you're kind of feel a little just at sea. Um, what else? What else? I guess, okay, let me talk to you about reading. I have given you 17 pages. They are pretty dense. How are you going to make your way through this material? Because 17 pages is a little short. Later it will be a little longer and more considerable, and in other classes you might get much more, right? So here are some strategies. I can't make it enjoyable if you don't enjoy it. I can't make it easy if you're not used to it. I can't take it away for you, but I can give you some ideas. Okay, so you have a text like mine. The first thing to do is to pre-read, right? And what this means is you go to page 2 or 3, right, the first part, and you look all the way through it until page 20. I think it's 17 pages. Go to page 20 and get a sense in your mind of how long it is, how detailed it is, just kind of a little scan so that you can map this in your mind. Look at the pictures. There are 3 photographs in that excerpt. Always look at the pictures and read the caption and try to imagine what those pictures are doing there, because they can give you clues to what is happening in your kind of pre-reading map. Also, look at the headings, like the subheadings, because they will also give you a sense of what's coming. So, it might say theorizing the body, or the body in a social and cultural context. So you would read that and you would think, okay, so this is what Dr. McMahon was talking about in the first video, this idea of like, why would we treat the body this way as a source of academic study? Okay, she's going to talk about that now, right, in the reading. So pre-read, get a good sense in your mind of what it is you are after, so that you're not just kind of surprised as you go along and you don't quite know how long it is, or how much time to set aside. So do a pre-read and set aside more time than you think you will need, because it will be kind of slow. This is a different kind of reading than you have probably ever done before. Again, maybe you had a stellar high school experience and you read, tons of novels, tons of great nonfiction, and you know how to take information easily and efficiently out of the written word. But I think many of us don't have practice with that, not a lot, at K through 12. So it's a skill like any other. You get better at it, you get quicker at it, you get more efficient at it, but at first you need time. You need time to make your way through, because the ideas are a little complex, and they take a little time to digest and a little time to process. So bear that in mind. What else? Put yourself into a particular frame of mind, right? By this I mean, you would never go to watch a 3-hour movie with subtitles. You wouldn't go into that with the same mindset that you would have if you were going to watch Married at First Sight on Netflix, right? Because one, you need patience, you need a certain openness, you need to be like, I'm going to experience art, right? Whereas with a Netflix show, that's just to decompress. That requires nothing of you except to just kind of sit there. That's just spectacle. So those require very different approaches and frames of mind. So think about it before you get into it, like, okay, this is a 3-hour movie, it has subtitles, I need to be in the right headspace to approach this. Otherwise, if I go in thinking it's going to be like Indian matchmaking or Parks and Rec, right? I'm just going to feel frustrated. I'm going to feel annoyed. I'm going to feel angry. I'm going to feel incapable. I'm not going to want to do it, right? So don't go in. So go in like, oh, okay. I'm good. I am watching a literally. This is a true. This is a true story. I'm watching a 7-hour Hungarian film on Canopy. I will tell you about Canopy at some point. You can go into the library databases and stream arty movies on Canopy. But I don't go, and I'm watching it in stages, right? I'm not watching it 7 hours in one sitting. But I don't go in to watch that movie, that 7-hour Hungarian movie, when I am tired or in a bad mood or I've just eaten a bag of jelly beans and I feel gross or whatever. I wait until I'm in a certain mood. Now you can't wait too much, right? Because you have to get it done. So just you can even kind of try to cultivate a certain frame of mind, and put yourself in the foreign film mindset more easily. You can't kind of just wait until it happens to to come upon you. You can kind of make it come. And I do this actually now when I'm about to write something. So if I'm doing some research, I'm going to write an article. I will put on my headphones and I will do like a 5 to 10 minute, and there are 8 million of them, a 5 to 10 minute meditation or relaxation session. And I try to just, blank out my mind. And I find that once I do that, 5 or 10 minutes, and then I go to work, I am so much more focused. I'm not kind of constantly opening new tabs or checking my email. No, I'm just focusing on what I'm trying to do. So let me see. That would be reading strategies. Do a little, try it. Try a little bit of meditation or just to focus, a bit of meditation or relaxation first. Set aside, enough time. Don't try to do it all at the last minute at night, because then you're gonna be frustrated. Get into the right kind of frame of mind, headspace, right, to approach it. It's going to take work, but like a foreign film, I really like film. And I love foreign films. So it will be rewarding and in some ways kind of mind blowing. I mean, she kind of tells you things that they're kind of mind blowing, and she tells you like 4 or 5 things per page. That are sort of like, whoa. So 20 things in a chapter. Don't get stressed about that. She's just giving you examples and making a few points. And pre-read, right? Look all the way through it beforehand. Try to kind of look at the bolded words, look at the headings, look at the pictures. Don't ignore the pictures, and try to get a sense of what it is you're going into before you do. So those are some ideas for reading strategies. One more thing. I said I wasn't going to take a long time, but one more thing, and that is to try to be an active reader. To be a readerly reader, an active reader. So what that entails is underlining and highlighting things, but you can't just highlight something. You need to write notes in the margins that explain why you have highlighted it, right? Because otherwise, when you go back to look at it a few days later, or whenever we have a debate, discussion kind of thing, and I ask you to look back over, you will see stuff, but it will be out of context. It will be disconnected, and you'll think, why did I highlight that? I don't know. So you have to kind of cue yourself. You have to remind yourself, oh, this part explains why you know, why the body is always marked, you know. You can write that in the margin, and then you have a little system for kind of not just reading, but also kind of setting it up so that later you can use what you have read a bit more readily, right? You don't just read it and it goes out of your head. Those are my tips. I will make you some more videos. I'm sure you're delighted because they're so good. I will make you some more videos very soon.